All right, let's settle down, class, because today's episode is a little different. This is your Christmas and New Year's history special, where we slow things down just a bit and take a look at how the world has celebrated, survived, and occasionally completely lost its mind during the final stretch of the year. If this is your first time listening, welcome to Draven's Den, the show where history isn't just dates and dusty textbooks. It's people, it's mistakes, it's triumphs, and sometimes it's absolute chaos wrapped in tinsel. I'm your host, Stan, and for the next half hour or so, we're going to travel through Christmas traditions that didn't always make sense, New Year's celebrations that went very wrong, and moments in December that quietly reshaped the world while everyone else was distracted by cookies and champagne. And I want to send a personal apology that there's been a gap in the show. Food poisoning and holidays and yada, yada, yada. Man, Christmas beat me over the head. But so I apologize for that, but we are back in the groove and we're going to get this thing started. All right, after the intro, you'll hear a pre recorded music, and we'll come right back. That was so history, you know? Remember that jingle on Saturday morning? It said, after these messages, we'll be right back. December 25th hasn't always looked the way it does now. In fact, for a long time, Christmas wasn't even universally welcomed. In 1647, the English Parliament actually banned Christmas. The Puritans believed the holiday had become too indulgent, too pagan, and frankly, too fun. Shops were ordered to stay open, churches were told not to hold special services, and anyone caught celebrating could face fines. People still celebrated anyway, quietly behind closed doors, proving that even government orders have limits when cookies are involved. Fast forward to December 25th, 800 AD. Is that really a fast forward? 1647, fast forward to 800 AD. Yeah, my scriptwriter needs a bunk in the head. Homie the clown, where are you? Anyhow, on that day, Charlemagne was crowned Holy Roman Emperor by Pope Leo III. It wasn't just a coronation, it was a symbolic rebirth of the Roman Empire in Western Europe. The ripple effects of that moment shaped politics, borders, and power structures for centuries. Now let's jump ahead to December 31st, 1991. Thank you, Leo. We're getting that right. On New Year's Eve, while people were preparing for countdowns and fireworks, the Soviet Union officially dissolved with the signing of a single document. One of the most powerful political entities in human history ceased to exist. No dramatic explosion, no sudden collapse, just a quiet ending. Fitting, in a way, for a century that had been defined by tension and nuclear standoffs. On January 1st, 1801, Giuseppe, you know what? I had to say this last night and I could not do it. Giuseppe Piazzi discovered the dwarf planet Ceres and the first object ever found in the asteroid belt. While people rang in the new year on Earth, humanity unknowingly expanded its understanding of the solar system. History doesn't pause for holidays. It just sneaks in between them. Now let's talk about the weirder side of the season. Victorian Christmas celebrations were intense. In the 1800s, Christmas cards often featured images of creepy children. Creepy children. Dead birds, and anthropomorphic frogs. No one really knows why this was considered festive, but nothing says happy holidays quite like unsettling art mailed to your relatives. Then there's the Christmas pickle. Yes, that Christmas pickle. The tradition is of hiding a pickle ornament in the tree and rewarding whoever finds it first is often claimed to be German. It's not. No German sources back this up at all. It appears to be a very American invention that somehow gaslit an entire population into thinking it was old world tradition. New Year's traditions aren't much better. In Scotland, there's Hogmanay, where the first person to cross your threshold after midnight determines your luck for the year. Ideally, it's a tall, dark haired man bearing gifts. Historically speaking, this was probably a way to ensure someone showed up with alcohol. In medieval Europe, New Year's celebrations sometimes involved mock kings, drunken street parades, and role reversals where servants ruled households for a day. It was festive, chaotic, and occasionally resulted in arrests, which honestly tracks. And if you think New Year's resolutions are hard now, imagine trying to keep one in ancient Rome, where resolutions were often made directly to the gods. No pressure. Yeah, all right. If all of this history makes you wish you could if all of this history makes you wish you could stumble across stories like this where they actually happened, that's actually why the Lore Trail app exists. Lore Trail is a GPS based history discovery app that reveals historical stories, forgotten events, and local legends based on where you're standing. Whether you're walking through your hometown or traveling somewhere new, Lore Trail shows you the past beneath your feet. The app is currently live on Kickstarter, and supporting it helps bring local history out of textbooks and into the real world, the way it was meant to be experienced. You can find the campaign by searching Lore Trail app on Kickstarter or by visiting theloretrail.com for updates and previews. If you love history, storytelling, and discovering the hidden layers of the places you already walk through every day, Lore Trail is absolutely worth checking out. As we close out the year, I want to hear your story. Every family has stories that never made it into the textbook. Immigration journeys, war letters, old businesses, local legends, moments that mattered, even if only to a few people. If you have a family history story you'd like to share, email it to dravensden@gmail.com. You don't need to write it perfectly, just tell it honestly. I read every message, and many of them inspire future episodes. History isn't just what happened to famous people, it's what happened to us. As we move from Christmas into New Year's, remember this. Every December in history felt uncertain to the people living through it. They didn't know what was coming next, just like we don't. But they kept going. They celebrated. They told stories. And somehow, we ended up here. There's something strange about the way we treat the new year. We act like midnight flips a switch. Like the moment the clock hits 12, everything that weighed us down somehow loosens its grip. But if we're honest, January 1st usually feels a lot like December 31st. Just colder, quieter, and maybe a little more tired. And that's okay. History reminds us that New Year's were never clean slates. Not for the people who lived through the wars that didn't end on schedule. Not for families who carried grief forward because the calendar said it was time to move on. And not for anyone who woke up on January 1st still unsure what came next. The past doesn't vanish because we want it to. It settles in. It teaches. Sometimes it lingers longer than we'd like. When ancient civilizations marked the new year, it wasn't about reinvention. It was about survival. About making it through another cycle of seasons. Another winter. Another unknown stretch of time. The celebrations weren't declarations of perfection. They were acknowledgments that people were still here. And that's worth something. We put a lot of pressure on ourselves at the start of a new year. We talk about resolutions, transformations, becoming someone better, stronger, more disciplined. But history shows us something quieter and more honest. Most progress isn't dramatic. It's incremental. It's imperfect. It's showing up again, even when the outcome is uncertain. The people we study in history books didn't know they'd be remembered. They didn't know how their stories would be told, or whether they'd be judged kindly or harshly. They just lived their lives forward, one day at a time, making decisions when the information they had, with the information they had. That's all any of us are doing. So if the past year didn't turn out the way you hoped, that doesn't mean it was wasted. Survival counts. Endurance counts. Learning counts, even when the lessons weren't gentle. And if this coming year feels intimidating, you're not alone. Every generation has stood at the edge of an unknown future, wondering whether they were prepared for what was coming next. They weren't, and somehow they moved forward anyway. Maybe this year isn't about becoming a new version of yourself. Maybe it's about understanding the version you already are. About carrying forward what matters and settling down or setting down what no longer does. Not because the calendar says you should, but because you're ready. History doesn't demand perfection from us. It only asks that we keep going. So wherever you are as this year begins, hopeful, cautious, exhausted, or quietly optimistic, that place is valid. You don't need to rush your growth. You don't need to have it all figured out. Just keep moving forward. Because one day, someone may look back and see this moment as part of a story that mattered. And that's enough. Thank you guys again for joining me on Draven's Den. And, I hope for all of us, you, me, Fluffy next door, that in the words of Colonel Potter, MASH 4077, may this year be a damn sight better than the last. So Happy New Year to each and every one of you. And don't forget, the most important thing about all of this is that you survived 100% of all of your bad days. See you next time.